Welcome to Learn English with Stories 365. My name's Paul, and I'm here to help you improve your English through fun and exciting stories. Let's get started. Today, we're talking about something that many learners struggle with. Have you ever felt like you can understand English when you listen or read, but when it's time to speak, the words just don't come out? You're not alone. Many people say, I understand English, but I can't speak it. Why does this happen? And more importantly, how can you fix it? That's what we'll explore today. You'll learn simple and powerful ways to make speaking English easier and more natural. Imagine this. You're in a coffee shop. The barista asks, what would you like? You know the words. You know what you want to say. But instead of speaking, you freeze. Your brain is working, but your mouth stays closed. Has this ever happened to you? It's frustrating, isn't it? Don't worry. Speaking English is not as difficult as you think. You just need the right techniques, a little practice, and the right mindset. And guess what? By the end of this lesson, you'll feel more confident and ready to speak. So, let's get started. Identifying the problem. Have you ever listened to an English conversation and thought, I understand everything, but then, when it's your turn to speak, nothing comes out? Or maybe you try to say something, but the words don't come as quickly as you'd like. If this has happened to you, you're not alone. This is one of the most common problems for English learners. Understanding English and speaking English are two very different skills. But why is that? Let's imagine a young boy named Alex. Alex loves music, and he listens to piano pieces every day. He knows the songs by heart. He can hum the melodies, recognize every note, and even tell when someone plays the wrong key. But when he sits in front of a piano and tries to play, his fingers don't know what to do. He understands music, but he can't produce it himself. Learning a language is very similar. Listening and understanding English is like hearing music, but speaking English is like playing the piano. You need practice, movement, and confidence to get it right. Many learners experience this problem. They watch English movies without subtitles, they understand podcasts, and they read books in English. But when they try to have a conversation, they hesitate. Words seem to disappear. Their mind goes blank. Why does this happen? What is stopping learners from speaking with confidence? One of the biggest reasons is that understanding is passive, but speaking is active. When you listen, your brain is relaxed. It recognizes words and meanings, just like when you listen to your native language. But when you speak, your brain has to work harder. It must find the right words, arrange them in the right order, and make your mouth produce the sounds, all in real time. That's not easy, and it takes practice. Another common reason learners struggle to speak is that they are still thinking in their native language. Imagine a student named Maria. Maria is from Spain, and she's learning English. When someone asks her, what do you like to do in your free time? Her brain first thinks of the answer in Spanish. Me gusta leer libros y salir con mis amigos. Then, she has to translate it into English. I like to read books and go out with my friends. But while she's translating, she hesitates. She wonders if she's saying it correctly. She feels nervous about making mistakes. And before she can answer, the conversation moves on. Thinking in your native language can slow you down and make speaking more difficult. Native English speakers don't think about grammar rules when they talk. They just speak. If you want to speak English fluently, you have to train your brain to think in English too. Fear is another big problem. Have you ever stopped yourself from speaking because you were afraid of making a mistake? Many learners worry that their pronunciation isn't perfect or that they might use the wrong word. But here's the truth. Mistakes are part of learning. Think about how babies learn to talk. Do they speak perfectly from the beginning? No. They try, they make mistakes, and they learn from them. Nobody laughs at a baby when they say "goed" instead of "went." So why should anyone laugh at you when you make a small mistake in English? The most important thing is to keep speaking and not let fear stop you. Lack of practice is another reason why speaking feels difficult. Imagine you want to become a great soccer player. You watch matches, you study the rules, and you know everything about the game. But if you never practice kicking the ball, will you be able to play well? Of course not. The same is true for English. If you only listen and read but never speak, your speaking skills won't improve. You have to use the language to become confident and fluent. There's also the problem of perfectionism. Some learners believe they must speak perfectly before they can have a conversation. But this is impossible. Even native speakers make mistakes. Have you ever listened to an interview or a live conversation in English? People repeat words, correct themselves, and use filler phrases like and. Speaking is not about perfection. It's about communication. Let's think about John, an English learner from Japan. John knows a lot of English words, but he is afraid of saying the wrong thing. One day, he meets a tourist who asks him for directions. John knows exactly what to say, but he hesitates. He thinks, what if I use the wrong preposition? What if my pronunciation is bad? By the time he finally decides to speak, the tourist has already asked someone else for help. John feels disappointed. He knew the answer, but his fear stopped him from speaking. Does this sound familiar? If so, don't worry. The good news is that speaking English can become easier. Just like playing the piano or playing soccer, speaking is a skill that improves with practice. The more you use English, the more natural it will feel. The key is to train your brain and your mouth to work together. And in the next section, we'll talk about simple techniques that will help you do exactly that. So, do you see now why speaking English is harder than understanding it? Have you ever had an experience like Alex, Maria, or John? Think about your own challenges. What makes speaking difficult for you? Take a moment to reflect, because understanding the problem is the first step to solving it. And don't worry, we're going to solve it together. Causes of the problem. Why is speaking English so hard? What makes it different from listening, reading, or even writing? If you feel stuck when you try to speak, don't worry. You are not alone. Many English learners face the same challenge. But before we can fix the problem, we need to understand why it happens. Let's explore some of the biggest reasons that make speaking English difficult. Thinking in your native language. Have you ever tried to speak English, but found yourself translating in your head? You think of the sentence in your own language first. Then you try to translate it into English. But while you're doing this, the conversation moves on, and you miss your chance to speak. This is a common problem for learners. Imagine a student named Paulo. He is from Brazil and speaks Portuguese. When someone asks him, "What do you usually eat for breakfast?" he first thinks in Portuguese. "Eu como pão e café." Then he tries to translate. "I eat bread and coffee." But he hesitates. Should he say eat or have? Should he say coffee or a coffee? While Paulo is thinking, the other person starts talking again. and the moment is lost. Translating slows you down. Native speakers don't translate, they just speak. If you want to speak fluently, you need to train your brain to think in English. A good way to start is by naming things around you in English. When you see a tree, don't think of the word in your own language. Just say tree. When you feel hungry, don't think, I want food in your language. Instead, tell yourself in English, I am hungry. The more you do this, the faster your brain will think in English, and speaking will become easier. Fear of making mistakes. Many learners don't speak because they are afraid of making mistakes. Have you ever wanted to say something but then stopped because you thought, what if I say it wrong? You worry about grammar. You worry about pronunciation. You worry about what other people will think. But let's think about a child learning to walk. A baby doesn't worry about falling. They just take a step. They fall, they get up, and they try again. Imagine if babies were afraid of falling. They would never learn to walk. Learning to speak English is the same. You must make mistakes. That's how you learn. Here's a secret. Even native speakers make mistakes. They forget words. They say things like and when they speak. They correct themselves. If native speakers don't speak perfectly all the time, why should you? The best way to overcome this fear is to speak anyway. Even if you make mistakes, keep going. The more you practice, the more confident you will become. Lack of practice. Speaking is a skill. Like playing the guitar or swimming, it requires practice. You can't learn to swim just by watching videos. You have to get in the water. The same is true for English. You can watch movies, listen to podcasts, and read books, but if you don't speak, you won't improve. Let's take an example. Think about Ahmed. He watches English movies every day. He understands everything, but when he tries to speak, he struggles. Why? Because he never practices speaking. If you want to improve, you must speak. Even if you don't have a teacher, you can practice by talking to yourself. Describe what you're doing. I am making tea. I am going to work. Try to have conversations in your head. Imagine you are ordering food at a restaurant. What would you say? Can I have a sandwich, please? The more you practice, the easier speaking will become. Perfectionism. Some learners believe they must speak perfectly before they can have a conversation. But this is impossible. Even native speakers make mistakes. Have you ever listened to an interview? People repeat words, correct themselves, and change what they say. Real conversations are not perfect. Imagine a student named Lee from China. She knows a lot of English, but she is afraid to speak. She thinks, I must say everything correctly. One day her teacher asks, what did you do this weekend? Lee knows the answer, but she stays silent because she is not 100% sure about her grammar. She misses her chance to practice. The truth is, you don't need perfect grammar to speak. Think about little children. They say things like, I go to the park instead of I went to the park. But people still understand them. The most important thing is to communicate. It's okay to make mistakes. The more you speak, the better you will become. Not enough listening. Did you know that listening helps your speaking? Many learners focus on grammar and vocabulary, but don't listen enough. But think about how babies learn to talk. They listen for months before they say their first word. They hear words again and again until they start to copy them. If you want to speak better, listen more. Listen to English music, watch TV shows, and try to repeat what you hear. This will help you learn natural pronunciation, rhythm, and sentence patterns. Here's a fun exercise. Try the shadowing technique. Listen to a short sentence and repeat it immediately, copying the speaker's tone and speed. For example, if you hear, "How are you today?" try to say it at the same time as the speaker. This will help you sound more natural when you speak. The brain needs training. Did you know that speaking English uses a special part of your brain? It's called Broca's area, and it controls speech production. Just like a muscle, this part of your brain needs training. If you don't use it, it won't become strong. Think about driving a car. At first, you have to think about every action. Step on the gas, check the mirror, turn the wheel. But after practice, driving feels automatic. Speaking English works the same way. The more you speak, the more natural it becomes. The key is repetition. The more you say a word, the easier it will be to remember. That's why daily practice is so important. Even 5 minutes a day can make a big difference. Conclusion. Now you know the biggest reasons why speaking English feels difficult. Are you thinking in your native language? Are you afraid of making mistakes? Do you practice enough? If you want to improve, you need to think in English, speak without fear, and practice every day. Speaking is not about being perfect. It's about communicating. So, start small, talk to yourself, repeat what you hear, and most importantly, just speak. What do you think? Which of these problems do you have? Take a moment to reflect and get ready, because in the next section, we'll talk about the best solutions to help you speak English more easily and confidently. Solutions and techniques. How to speak English more easily and confidently. Now that we know why speaking English is difficult, let's talk about solutions. The good news is that you can train your brain to speak more fluently. Just like learning to ride a bike, it takes practice, but soon it will feel natural. Today, we will focus on 3 powerful techniques that can help you improve. Thinking in English, creating an immersive environment, and using the shadowing technique. Let's start. Thinking in English. One of the biggest reasons learners struggle to speak is that they think in their native language first and then translate into English. This takes time and makes sentences sound unnatural. Imagine a student named Sophia. She is from Italy. When someone asks her, "What do you like to do in your free time?" she first thinks in Italian. Mi piace leggere libri e ascoltare musica. Then she tries to translate. "I like read books and listen music." But wait, should she say read or reading? Should she say listen to music or listen music? She hesitates, and before she can answer, the conversation moves on. This happens because her brain is not used to thinking in English. The words must travel from Italian to English, and this slows everything down. So, how can we fix this? Train your brain to think in English. Here's how. Start small. Look around you and name objects in English. When you see a tree, don't think of the word in your language. Just say tree. When you're hungry, don't think I want food in your language. Instead, tell yourself in English, I am hungry. Describe your actions. When you wake up, think, I'm getting out of bed. When you brush your teeth, say in your mind, I am brushing my teeth. This helps your brain get used to forming sentences in English. Have silent conversations. Imagine talking to someone in English. Think of a question. What do I want to eat? Then answer. Maybe I'll have some rice. You can do this anywhere, on the bus, in the shower, or before bed. Use an English diary. Every day, write a few sentences about your day in English. It doesn't have to be perfect. The goal is to practice thinking in English. The more you train your brain, the easier it will be to speak naturally without translating. Creating an immersive environment. Another great way to improve your speaking is by surrounding yourself with English. This is called immersion. When babies learn a language, they don't study grammar books. They hear the language all around them. You can do the same, but what if you don't live in an English-speaking country? No problem. You can create an English environment wherever you are. Here's how. 1. Listen to English every day. The more you listen to English, the easier it will be to speak. Your brain will pick up words, sentence patterns, and pronunciation naturally. Listen to English music. Try to sing along. Songs help you remember new words and phrases. Watch TV shows and movies in English. Start with subtitles in English, then try watching without them. Listen to English podcasts. Even if you don't understand everything, your brain is still learning. 2. Change your phone and devices to English. Your phone is something you use every day. Why not make it your English teacher? Set your phone language to English. Now, every time you use your phone, you will see English words. Follow English-speaking social media accounts. This way, your Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok feed will be filled with English content. 3. Talk to yourself in English. Do you ever talk to yourself? It might sound funny, but it's actually a great way to practice speaking. When you're cooking, describe what you're doing. Now I am cutting the onions. Now I am frying the chicken. When you're walking, say, I'm going to the store. The weather is nice today. The more you hear your own voice in English, the more comfortable you will feel speaking. 4. Find a language partner. Speaking with other people is important. If you don't have English-speaking friends, don't worry. Join an English-speaking club. Many cities have groups where people practice English together. Use language exchange apps. Apps like HelloTalk or Tandem let you talk with native speakers online. Practice with AI chatbots. Some websites let you have conversations in English with a computer. It's a fun way to practice. Even if you can't travel to an English-speaking country, you can bring English into your daily life. The shadowing technique. Now, let's talk about a powerful technique that can improve your pronunciation, fluency, and confidence. It's called shadowing. What is shadowing? It's simple. Find an audio clip in English. It could be from a movie, a podcast, or a YouTube video. Play the audio and listen carefully. Repeat the words at the same time as the speaker. Try to copy their pronunciation and speed. It's like being a shadow. You follow the speaker closely, trying to sound exactly like them. Why does shadowing work? It trains your mouth to produce English sounds. It helps you learn natural sentence rhythm. It improves your listening skills and pronunciation. How to practice shadowing. Start with short sentences. Choose something simple like, good morning, how are you? Repeat many times. The more you practice, the better you will sound. Record yourself. Listen to your recording and compare it with the original. Let's take an example. Imagine you're watching a movie and the actor says, I don't know what you mean. Now, you pause the video and repeat. Try to match the same speed and tone. After practicing a few times, you will sound more natural when you speak. Even just 5 minutes a day of shadowing can help you speak more clearly and confidently. More ways to improve your speaking skills. Speaking English fluently doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, patience, and the right techniques. In the last section, we talked about thinking in English, creating an immersive environment, and shadowing. These are powerful strategies to improve your fluency. But there are even more ways to train your brain and your mouth to speak English more easily. Today, we will focus on 3 more techniques. Recording yourself to analyze your pronunciation and fluency. The chunking method to help you speak in natural phrases. Using everyday phrases to feel more confident in real conversations. These techniques will make speaking feel easier and more natural. Let's begin. Recording yourself, a powerful tool for improvement. Have you ever heard your own voice on a recording and thought, do I really sound like that? Many people feel surprised when they hear themselves speak. But did you know that recording yourself is one of the best ways to improve your English? Let's imagine a student named David. David is learning English, and he often feels nervous when speaking. He thinks his pronunciation isn't good, and he doesn't know if his sentences sound natural. One day, he decides to record himself reading a short story in English. At first, he feels shy, but when he listens to the recording, he notices something interesting. He is speaking too slowly. He also hears that he is not pronouncing the TH sound correctly. So, he practices again and records himself a second time. This time, his pronunciation is better. By listening to his own voice, David can hear his mistakes and improve. This is why recording yourself is such a powerful tool. How to use this technique. Choose something to say. It could be a short paragraph from a book, a conversation script, or even a personal introduction like, "Hi, my name is Anna. I live in Brazil. I love cooking and traveling." Record yourself on your phone. Speak naturally, as if you were talking to a friend. Listen to your recording. Pay attention to your pronunciation, speed, and fluency. Compare with a native speaker. Find a similar sentence spoken by a native English speaker. Do you sound similar? What is different? Record yourself again. Try to improve. Why does this work? It helps you hear your mistakes and fix them. It allows you to track your progress. You will notice improvement over time. It builds confidence because you get used to your own voice speaking English. If you feel shy about speaking, recording yourself is a great first step. You don't need a conversation partner. You can practice alone and still improve. The chunking method. Speak in natural phrases. Have you ever noticed that native English speakers don't speak word by word? Instead, they use groups of words together. For example, instead of saying, "I do not know," a native speaker would say, "I don't know," like one smooth phrase. This is called chunking. Instead of focusing on individual words, you learn short phrases or chunks of language that go together. Think of English like a song. If you try to sing each note separately, it sounds unnatural. But when you sing in phrases, the song flows smoothly. How to use the chunking method. Listen to English speakers and notice their phrases. Pay attention to how they group words together. Use common sentence patterns. Learn full phrases instead of individual words. Examples of useful chunks. Instead of, "I do not know," say, "I don't know." Instead of, how have you been? Say, how have you been? Instead of, let me think about it. Say, let me think about it. By practicing chunking, your English will sound more natural and fluent. Using everyday phrases. Sound more natural in conversations. Many learners struggle with small talk. When someone says, how's it going? They don't know how to respond quickly. The secret to feeling more confident in conversations is learning everyday phrases. These are short, common expressions that native speakers use all the time. Think about it. When you speak your native language, do you always create full sentences from scratch? Or do you use ready-made expressions? For example, in English, when someone says, thank you, a native speaker doesn't stop to think about grammar. They just say, no problem, or you're welcome. These phrases come automatically. If you memorize common expressions, you won't have to think about grammar in every conversation. Useful everyday phrases. Greetings and small talk. Hey, what's up? Informal way to say hello. Not much, just relaxing. Casual reply. Long time no see. When you meet someone after a long time, asking for help. Could you help me out? I don't get it. Can you explain? What do you mean? Expressing opinions. I think so. In my opinion. That sounds great. Reacting in a conversation. Really? That's interesting. Oh, I see. When you memorize these phrases, you don't have to stop and think about grammar. You can just speak naturally and confidently. How to practice everyday phrases. Pick 5 new phrases each week. Write them down and use them in conversations. Practice with a partner or yourself. Repeat them until they feel natural. Listen to real conversations. Try to notice these phrases in movies or podcasts. Conclusion. Speaking English fluently is not about knowing thousands of words or being perfect. It's about training your brain and practicing every day with the right techniques. Think in English to stop translating and speak faster. Create an English environment so that you hear and see English every day. Use the shadowing technique to improve your pronunciation and fluency. Record yourself to hear and correct your mistakes. Practice chunking to speak smoothly and naturally. Use everyday phrases to make conversations easier and build confidence. What do you think? Which of these techniques will you try first? Take a moment to decide. The key is to practice every day. Even small steps will help you improve. So don't wait. Start using these techniques today, and soon you'll feel more confident speaking English than ever before. Psychological and brain science perspective. Have you ever wondered why speaking English feels so difficult, even when you understand the language? The answer isn't just about vocabulary or grammar. It's also about how your brain works. Speaking a language is not just a skill. It's a complex brain function. When you understand how your brain processes speech, you can train it to become faster, more confident, and more fluent. How the brain processes speech. Deep inside your brain, there is a small but powerful area called Broca's area. This part of the brain is responsible for speaking and producing language. It's like a muscle. If you don't use it, it stays weak. If you train it, it becomes stronger and faster. Let's imagine 2 people, Tom and Lisa. Tom listens to English every day, but he never speaks. His Broca's area stays inactive, like a car that hasn't been driven in months. When he finally tries to speak, his brain struggles to find the right words, and he hesitates. Lisa, on the other hand, practices speaking every day. She talks to herself, practices pronunciation, and doesn't worry about mistakes. Her Broca's area is active and strong. When she speaks, the words come easily. Now, ask yourself, who do you want to be, Tom or Lisa? If you want to speak English fluently, you need to train your Broca's area by speaking regularly. But why do so many learners hesitate to speak? The problem is not just about brain training. It's also about mental blocks. Overcoming mental blocks. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with speaking English is fear of judgment. Have you ever stopped yourself from speaking because you worried about making a mistake? Maybe you thought, what if I say something wrong? What if people laugh at me? But let's think about this logically. Imagine you meet an English learner who says, yesterday I go to the park and see my friend. Would you laugh at them? Of course not. You understand what they mean. And guess what? Native speakers don't care if you make small mistakes. They just want to communicate with you. The fear of mistakes comes from perfectionism, the idea that you must speak perfect English before you open your mouth. But here's the truth. Perfectionism kills progress. Think about a child learning to walk. Do they fall? Yes. Do they stop trying? No. They keep going until they can walk confidently. Language learning is the same. If you don't allow yourself to make mistakes, you will never improve. Let's take an example from the world of business. Have you heard of Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba? He failed his university entrance exam 3 times. He applied for jobs and got rejected 30 times. Even KFC rejected him. But did he give up? No. He kept trying, and today he is one of the most successful businessmen in the world. Now, imagine if Jack Ma had given up after the first rejection. He would never have built his company. If you stop speaking English because you're afraid of mistakes, you are stopping your own success. So how can you break free from fear and perfectionism? The answer is a growth mindset. The power of a growth mindset. A growth mindset means believing that you can improve through effort and practice. It's the opposite of a fixed mindset, where people believe their abilities are limited. Here's an example. A fixed mindset says, I'm bad at speaking English. I will never be fluent. A growth mindset says, I'm not fluent yet, but if I practice, I will improve. See the difference? The first mindset blocks progress, but the second mindset creates motivation and confidence. Let's look at one of the greatest basketball players of all time, Michael Jordan. Many people think he was born with talent, but the truth is he was cut from his high school basketball team because he wasn't good enough. Instead of giving up, he practiced harder. He trained every day until he became the best. This same mindset applies to learning English. If you practice every day, you will improve. Here are some simple ways to develop a growth mindset in English learning. Change your words. Instead of saying, I can't speak English, say, I'm still learning, but I'm improving every day. Celebrate small wins. If you spoke one full sentence today, congratulate yourself. Every small step brings you closer to fluency. Learn from mistakes. Instead of feeling bad about mistakes, analyze them and try again. Imagine you are climbing a mountain. Every step you take brings you closer to the top. You might fall, you might get tired, but if you keep going, you will reach the top. Now, think about your own English learning journey. Are you letting fear and perfectionism stop you? Or are you ready to train your brain, overcome mental blocks, and develop a growth mindset? The choice is yours. If you keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep believing in yourself, fluency is not just possible, it's inevitable. So, take a deep breath, smile, and say something in English right now. The journey to fluency starts today. Real life speaking practice. By now, you understand why speaking English is difficult and how your brain processes language. You also know how to overcome fear and build confidence. But here's the big question. Where can you actually practice speaking? Many learners think they need to live in an English-speaking country to improve their speaking skills. But that's not true. You can practice English anywhere, anytime. You just need to know where to look. Finding speaking opportunities. If you want to get better at speaking, you need to create more chances to speak. Imagine someone who wants to become a great swimmer, but never goes to the pool. Will they improve? No. The same is true for English. You need to find opportunities to use the language in real life. One great way to do this is by engaging in hobbies that involve English. Do you like cooking? Try watching English recipe videos and then explaining the steps out loud. Do you enjoy video games? Play online games where you can chat with other players in English. Do you love reading? Join a book club where members discuss books in English. When you connect English with something you love, speaking will feel fun and natural. Another great way to practice is by joining English-speaking groups. Many cities have language exchange meetups where people gather to practice different languages. If there's a local group near you, try going. You might feel nervous at first, but remember, everyone there is learning, just like you. If you don't have in-person opportunities, don't worry. Technology makes it easy to find speaking partners online. There are many language exchange apps where you can connect with native English speakers who want to learn your language. You help them, they help you. It's a win-win. Here's a great example. Emma and Carlos. Emma is from the UK and wants to learn Spanish. Carlos is from Mexico and wants to learn English. They meet online through a language exchange app. For 30 minutes, they chat in Spanish so Emma can practice. Then they switch to English so Carlos can practice. In just a few months, Carlos feels much more comfortable speaking English. And guess what? He never even left his home country. Now think about yourself. What hobbies do you enjoy? Are there any English-speaking communities you can join? Have you tried a language exchange app before? There are so many ways to find speaking opportunities. You just have to take the first step. Practicing conversations with others. Now that you know where to find speaking partners, let's talk about how to make the most of these conversations. Many learners worry about not knowing what to say or running out of ideas during a conversation. But don't worry. There are simple techniques to help you. First, start with short, simple conversations. You don't have to talk for hours. Even a 2-minute chat can help you build confidence. For example, if you go to a coffee shop, try ordering in English. Hi, can I have a cappuccino, please? Barista. Sure. Small, medium, or large. Medium, please. Thank you. That's it. A short, everyday conversation, but it's real practice. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Next, try preparing common phrases in advance. If you know you'll be in a situation where you need to speak English, prepare a few sentences beforehand. For example, if you're meeting a new language partner, you can practice. Hi, nice to meet you. Where are you from? I'm learning English because I love traveling. What about you? What do you do in your free time? Having a few sentences ready will make you feel more confident and help the conversation flow smoothly. Also, remember that conversations are not just about talking. They're also about listening. When speaking with someone, focus on understanding their words instead of worrying about your own mistakes. If you don't understand something, it's okay to ask. Sorry, can you repeat that? What does that word mean? Most people will be happy to help, and this will make you feel more comfortable in conversations. Making speaking a daily habit. The key to improving your speaking skills is consistency. Speaking English once a month won't help much, but if you practice a little every day, you will see big improvements over time. Here's a challenge for you. Try speaking English every day for 1 month. It doesn't have to be long. Even 5 minutes is enough. You can talk to yourself in English while cooking or getting ready in the morning. Call a friend and chat in English for a few minutes. Record yourself talking about your day. By the end of the month, you'll feel more comfortable, more confident, and more fluent. So, what do you think? Which speaking opportunity will you try first? Take a moment to decide, and then go out and start speaking. The more you practice, the closer you'll be to fluency. Motivation and mindset. Learning English is like running a marathon, not a sprint. Many learners start with great enthusiasm, but when progress feels slow, they get discouraged. Have you ever felt that way? Maybe you started studying English with excitement, but after a few months, you thought, why am I not fluent yet? If so, don't worry. You are not alone. One of the biggest challenges in language learning is keeping the right mindset. Your attitude and motivation play a huge role in your success. If you expect to speak perfect English in just a few months, you might feel frustrated when reality doesn't match your expectations. But if you set realistic goals and focus on small victories, you'll stay motivated and keep improving. Setting realistic expectations. Many learners ask, how long does it take to become fluent? The answer depends on many factors. How much you practice, how you study, and even your native language. But one thing is certain. Learning English is a long-term process. Think about how babies learn to speak. They spend months just listening before they say their first words. Even after they start speaking, they make many mistakes. It takes years for them to speak fluently. And these are native speakers. If it takes a baby years to master a language, why should an adult expect to learn it in just a few months? Let's look at another example. Imagine you want to play the guitar. If you pick up a guitar for the first time today, will you be able to play a full song tomorrow? No. First, you have to learn the chords. Then, you practice switching between them. At first, your fingers feel slow, and your movements are awkward. But with daily practice, you improve. After a few months, you can play simple songs. After a year or two, you feel comfortable playing in front of others. Language learning is the same. You won't become fluent overnight, but if you practice a little every day, you will see results. The key is to be patient and enjoy the process. If you ever feel like giving up, remind yourself why you started. Do you want to travel? Get a better job? Make new friends? Whatever your reason, keep it in mind. Learning English is a journey, and every step forward brings you closer to your goal. focusing on small victories. Many learners make the mistake of focusing on what they can't do instead of celebrating what they can do. Have you ever thought, my English is still bad. I can't speak fluently. If so, try changing your mindset. Instead of thinking about what you haven't achieved yet, focus on the progress you've already made. Let's take an example. Imagine two learners, Tom and Anna. Tom says, I still make mistakes. My pronunciation is not perfect. I can't have long conversations. He feels frustrated and wants to quit. Anna says, last year I couldn't understand English movies. Now I understand a lot. A few months ago, I was afraid to speak. Now I can have short conversations. She feels proud of her progress and stays motivated. Who do you think will improve faster? Anna. She celebrates her small victories, so she stays motivated and keeps resilient. What about you? Think about your progress. What can you do now that you couldn't do 6 months ago? Maybe you can introduce yourself in English. Maybe you can order food at a restaurant. Maybe you can understand an English song. These are victories. Celebrate them. Here's a great way to track your progress. Keep a language journal. Every week, write down one new word or phrase you learned. One thing you can do now that you couldn't do before. One small goal for next week. When you look back after a few months, you'll see how much you've improved. And remember, perfection is not the goal. Even native speakers forget words, correct themselves, and use simple language. Your goal is to communicate, not to be perfect. So, take a deep breath and remind yourself, you are improving every day. Every new word, every conversation, every mistake, it's all part of the journey. Keep going, and soon you'll be amazed at how far you've come. Resilience in language learning. Pushing through difficulties without giving up. Have you ever felt stuck in your English learning journey? Maybe you studied for months, but suddenly you felt like you weren't improving. Or perhaps you tried speaking, but you made mistakes and someone corrected you in a way that made you feel embarrassed. Moments like these can make you want to give up. But here's the secret to success: resilience. Resilience means not giving up, even when things are difficult. Every successful English speaker has faced challenges. The difference between those who succeed and those who quit is simple. Successful learners keep going. Let's imagine a runner named David. David dreams of running a marathon, but when he starts training, he gets tired after just 10 minutes. He feels frustrated. He thinks, how will I ever run 42 kilometers if I can't even run 10 minutes? But instead of quitting, David keeps training. Every day he runs a little longer. Some days are hard, and he feels like he isn't improving. But he doesn't stop. After months of practice, he can finally run the full marathon. Learning English is just like training for a marathon. Some days you feel great. You understand everything and speak with confidence. Other days you struggle. You forget words, make mistakes, and feel like you aren't improving. But just like David, if you keep going, you will get better. So, what should you do when you feel discouraged? Remember why you started. Do you want to travel? Get a better job? Make international friends? Think about your goals and remind yourself why learning English is important to you. Look at how far you've come. Maybe today feels hard, but think about where you started. A few months ago, you might not have understood an English movie or had a conversation. Now you can. Take a short break if needed, but never quit. It's okay to rest when you feel tired, but don't stop learning. Even small steps, like listening to an English song or practicing for 5 minutes, keep you moving forward. Learn from mistakes instead of fearing them. Every mistake is a lesson. Instead of feeling bad, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? The more mistakes you make, the more you improve. Remember, the people who speak English fluently today were once beginners like you. They made mistakes, felt frustrated, and wanted to give up, but they didn't. And because they kept going, they succeeded. You can do the same. The power of gratitude. Being thankful for the opportunity to learn. Have you ever felt frustrated while learning English? Maybe you thought, English is too hard, or why do I have to learn so many words? If so, try changing your perspective. Instead of focusing on the difficulties, focus on gratitude, the feeling of being thankful. Gratitude can change your attitude completely. Instead of thinking, English is so difficult, try thinking, I'm lucky to have the chance to learn English. Instead of saying, I'll never be fluent, try saying, every day I am improving. Let's think about a girl named Sarah. Sarah lives in a country where it's hard to find English teachers or good learning resources, but she really wants to learn English. So, every night, she listens to English podcasts, practices speaking by herself, and writes new words in a notebook. She feels grateful for every opportunity to learn, even if it's difficult. And because she has a positive attitude, she keeps going and improves quickly. Now, think about your situation. Maybe you have access to the internet, where you can watch English videos, listen to podcasts, and practice with language exchange partners. Maybe you have teachers or friends who help you learn. Or maybe you are learning on your own, but you still have books and apps that can support you. These are all opportunities to be thankful for. Here's a simple exercise. Every day, think of one reason you are grateful for learning English. Say it out loud. I'm thankful that I can watch English movies. Or I'm lucky to have time to practice today. This small habit can change your mindset completely. Instead of seeing learning as a struggle, you'll start to see it as a gift. And here's the best part. A grateful mind learns faster. Studies show that when we feel thankful, our brains become more open to new information. When we focus on the positives, we feel happier, more motivated, and more confident. So, next time you feel frustrated, take a deep breath and think of one reason to be grateful. Be thankful for your progress, your opportunities, and your journey. English is not just a skill. It's a door to a bigger world, new friendships, and exciting experiences. Keep going and enjoy every step of the way. Conclusion. Keep going and keep growing. You've made it to the end of this lesson, and that means you are truly committed to improving your English speaking skills. That's something to be proud of. Learning a language is not easy, but every step you take brings you closer to fluency. Let's take a moment to remember the most important techniques we've learned. First, we talked about thinking in English to stop translating and speak faster. We learned how to create an English environment by surrounding ourselves with English music, movies, and everyday interactions. We practiced the shadowing technique, where you repeat words along with a speaker to improve pronunciation and fluency. Then, we explored the power of recording yourself to analyze your pronunciation and track your progress. We use the chunking method to break long sentences into smaller parts for smoother speech. And we built confidence by using everyday phrases, making conversations easier and more natural. We also took a look at the psychology of speaking, how the brain needs training, how fear of mistakes can hold us back, and how a growth mindset helps us improve. We discovered ways to find real-life speaking opportunities and how even short interactions can make a big difference. Finally, we discussed motivation and mindset, learning that resilience and gratitude are powerful tools for success. Now, the real question is, which of these techniques will you try first? Remember, speaking English fluently isn't about perfection. It's about consistent practice. Even small efforts made every day will bring big results over time. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going. So, don't stop here. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and believe in yourself. And if you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Learn English with Stories 365 so you can continue learning with us. You're on an amazing journey, and we're here to support you every step of the way. See you in the next lesson.